Thank you so much for being here today for the Employer Insights with Lockheed Martin. We're really excited to have representatives from Lockheed to talk to you about the company, and also too to provide you some information, some really great recruiting information. So with that said, first of all, we're going to introduce ourselves. So first of all, I'd like to introduce to you our San Jose State Career Center hosts, which is Anita Manuel, the Associate Director. Anita.
Welcome everyone. Hi, happy to be here. Another wonderful Employer Insights.
Yes. And my name is Lisa Tchaikovsky. I'm the Assistant Director of Employer Engagement. And I'm really excited about Lockheed Martin being here today. And our guests for today is, sorry, I keep having things popping up on my screen. We have Janet Bashel. She is the Campus Relations Manager at Lockheed Martin. And we have Thane Sento. She is the Space Campus Ambassador at Lockheed Martin as well. So Janet, can you give us an overview about Lockheed Martin and what they have to offer?
Absolutely. So I don't know, are you showing the slides on the screen or not, or?
Yes, I am.
And if you're not, that's okay. Because I can't see them on my side. So I just want to share with you, first of all, I'm Janet Bastel, and I'm with Lockheed Martin. And in just a few weeks, I will celebrate my 2-year anniversary with the company. Now, my first day of work at Lockheed Martin was the day that InSight landed on Mars. And I can't guarantee your first day will be as exciting, but if you join Lockheed Martin, I'm sure you'll have an exciting career. So I'm pleased and excited that I have so many industry engineers, computer scientists joining us today, because Lockheed Martin is to me, the best and the largest defense company in the world. And we operate 5 different businesses right now. So predominantly we have our enterprise operation, which is our corporate office, and where a lot of our technology that happens through all of the business areas starts. And then we have our business areas of aeronautics, rotary mission systems, missiles and fire control, and space. And depending on what your skill set is and potentially what your interests are, is you may determine that you are more interested in one of those business areas than the other. But the exciting
Did anyone else lose?
Yeah, she looks like she's frozen at the moment.
Yeah.
Janet.
Employees that work for Lockheed Martin. And as you can see, is if there are some non-engineering and scientists and computer scientists on the line today, is that you can see that, yes, indeed, over half of the employees that work for us are technical specialists, but that there are also a lot of them, like myself, who's an HR person by trade, but we have a lot of other opportunities for other individuals who are not what I call technical specialists. Also, as you take a look at the map, is you can also see where we are located at. And these are just our headquarter buildings. This is not all of the facilities that we have throughout the US, because as you all know, or many of you know, is that we have a very large space facility that's located not too far from your campus in Sunnyvale. So again, a lot of opportunity there for you. So that's just a little bit about the company overall and some potential opportunities for you to join us.
Great. Thank you so much, Janet. And now, let's see. So Janet, and as well as Thane, if you could tell us a bit about your role at Lockheed Martin and how did you get started in your field?
So I'll start. and basically is I'm a campus relations manager. So my job is to participate in and set up different engagements that are going to give the students information and opportunity to potentially, first of all, learn about Lockheed Martin, and then if we're doing hiring events, to make sure that you're aware of those to potentially get you in the pipeline. If you need work on your resume skills, if you need work on your interview skills, that's what I'm here to help do. So I am an advocate to also help you to look at some opportunities with Lockheed. So I don't necessarily have the opportunity to do the interviews with you, but I'm helping to get you prepared. As I already indicated, I am 2 years with Lockheed Martin in just a few weeks, but my background is human resources, and I spent 20 years prior in campus relations, working in the hospitality business. So hospitality to, defense. Can you see the similarities? Well, the similarities for me is about working with students, and I really enjoy working with students and helping you to transition from your student career to your future career. And so I took retirement a few years ago, was doing some consulting on my own, but I missed working with students. So I'm back and I'm here to help you again to transition from school into your career. That's my story.
Great. Thane, did you want to tell us a little bit about your role at
Yeah,
Lockheed?
hi everyone. So to start with, I'm a third-year computer engineering student at San Jose State University. At Lockheed Martin, I'm a systems engineering intern. Specifically, I work on model-based systems engineering. So it's a lot of creating diagrams and making everything about the engineering process a lot more efficient, starting from the conceptualization all the way to the launch of a product. Kind of like being like the middleman that helps make everything a lot better, faster. How did I get started? I went to a recruitment event specifically for Lockheed at San Jose State. And I went in with my resume and I talked to the hiring manager who was hiring for the systems engineering position. He thought I was a great match and I was hired on site. So I was hired on the spot after talking to him, and that's what started my career with Lockheed Martin.
That's great. Thank you.
That's awesome. We love hearing when students actually go to events and get hired on the spot. So congratulations, that's pretty awesome.
It was really cool.
Since you are wearing both hats, that you're a current student and you're also working as an intern for Lockheed, maybe you can share your insights right now, because so many students are really worried about finding internships and jobs in this economy and environment. What are your top tips for students looking for opportunities, especially with Lockheed Martin during these times?
So definitely because of the pandemic, a lot of companies aren't hiring as much anymore, and it's a lot harder to even land an interview with a company that you're really passionate about and even feel like you're a good fit for. Definitely get your resume straight. So ask your peers or professors or other professionals to look at your resume and help you edit it. Like recruiters only spend about 7 seconds on a resume before they put it in a pile. So you really want to make sure that you have the right words in the right place almost. Additionally, I find that so many students are such a good fit for the job. Every single position online gets thousands of applications. So it really helps is getting your foot in the door. I really recommend you find a professional and find a way to network with them. This could be through online events, because I know a lot of companies do work with target colleges to recruit interns. So if you find that you're applying to a lot of jobs and getting rejected by like almost all of them, like you're not alone, a lot of students are facing the same thing. Try to find other ways to reach people who you feel would be able to get you an interview. Those are some tips that I have.
Janet, did you have anything to add or?
Absolutely. So again, part of it is the preparation process of it. And it does feel like you are probably attending a lot of events and you're applying for a lot of jobs, but my motto is you can't be rejected if you don't apply. And that is how you start getting your information out there. But part of it is that, Thane talked about the fact that recruiters spend about 7 seconds initially on your resume. And you're thinking, oh, wow, I've spent so much time working on this. Part of it is does your resume give me the message that I'm looking for? And so it's important for you to make sure that your information about your skills versus the skills that are on the job description are a match. So that if you're a computer science person and you have, C++ and Java and Linux and other types of skills, is you have to make sure that that information is clear and very easy to find. Don't worry about, having complete paragraphs. Is think about, again, using that job description as this is the menu of items that the hiring manager is seeking, and thus as many of those skills as you have that are on the job description, you want to make sure that we can clearly and easily pick them out in your resume. And again, you are going to find that you are participating in probably a lot more types of events. But the more we see you and the more times we engage with you is the better opportunity that is out there. Also, again, even with Thane at this point, you know that she is, a student at your university. You know that she is a campus ambassador for Lockheed Martin. How do you connect with her? Is she in any of your classes? Is she a part of any of your, study groups that you're involved with? Again, continuing to make those connections with people. Hopefully that helps you.
That's great. Students, if you have questions, if any questions come up, please know you can always put them in the chat. Just go ahead and put them there. And do we have any questions that have come up, by the way?
There are a few that have come up. One of them was actually great when you did your overview, Janet, and any updates on what is currently happening with the Sunnyvale campus and the outlook there?
So I don't have specific numbers, but I can tell you that they are hiring. So again, if one of the things that you want to be mindful about is if you have a specific location that you're interested in, is go to our job site and go specifically, to that location of interest and look for opportunities that you're interested in and apply to them directly. Last year, I know that we did some specific hiring activity just for that site. Space overall has been doing some hiring, and I know that a number of you have participated in different events that we have hosted. So again, is hopefully the result of some of that activity will get you to the opportunity that you're interested in. Realizing that, it is the beginning of November, but we are approaching the end of the semester already. And that what has been happening is, and really over the course of the last, I would say 3 weeks, is all of the different national conferences have been going on. We've had, the space event that I think the hiring event is coming up next week. And so a lot of that activity for hiring has been going on. What will then happen in December is, again, we're going to do a reevaluation, see what opportunities are still available. So there may be some new jobs that are going to be posted or even reposted after the first of the year. But again, my advice is keep looking and keep applying for opportunities.
That's great. Just want a quick follow-up. I do know that a lot of students will ask, can I apply multiple times for positions, or once I've applied, am I in the system and I'm good to go?
The way that it works at Lockheed Martin is you want to apply for any job that you're interested in. Even if it is the same job, but it's at a different location, or they have multiple jobs with similar names at the same location, apply for each individual job posting that you're interested in, because each one of them is considered an individual position. It may not have the same recruiter or the same hiring manager attached to it.
Okay, one last final follow-up question, because this comes up a lot too. Would you recommend tailoring your resume for each one of those specific positions versus using the same resume across all of those positions?
It will depend, and the depend on is when you review the job description is what does the basic qualifications look like, or what are the desired qualifications. So the basic qualifications, if your resume doesn't meet the basics, is the hiring manager is not going to review your resume. If you have a number of desired qualifications, and those may be different on different job descriptions, is you may have not added it as one of your overall key skills. But again, is if there's additional skills that are located on one of the job descriptions, you want to make sure that we can clearly see that within your resume. And the other thing that I will share with you is, and especially on the entry level side, I've had some students reach out to me to ask me about their cover letter and that they're including information in their cover letter that's not a part of their resume. Just to be honest with you, the size of a company like Lockheed Martin, we don't have the capacity to review all of the cover letters. So you want to make sure that your resume, which is your calling card, has that information as a part of it. And that even is included in I've been dealing with a lot of students at a couple of schools who are, getting ready to graduate in May or June, but they're going on to grad school in the fall. And they've been applying to internships using their undergrad date. Lockheed Martin will only consider interns for positions who are actually going back to school. If your resume doesn't indicate to us that you are going on to grad school, again, you won't be considered for that internship. So make it clear with your graduation date, graduating undergrad, whatever, month and year it is. And I say whatever because I deal with, I go coast to coast with some of my schools, and everybody has a different graduation date. So make it clear that your undergrad graduation date and your grad date graduation date, because that becomes very helpful for a lot of you who are going on to grad school.
That's some great advice. From my understanding, Thane, you have experience in a virtual internship. Can you explain to us what a student could expect in a virtual internship?
Yeah, definitely. I was supposed to be on site in Denver this summer, but because of the pandemic, my internship turned virtual. Um, Lockheed was absolutely great about the transition to go from on-site to virtual. They shipped my laptop, monitor, everything that I would need to my house so I could set up a little home office here. And a lot of the things that you feel will be missing in an internship when it turns virtual, Lockheed was really good about creating enough events online to help an intern feel like they're part of the community and part of a really great company. So, for example, they had many events every week for interns to join, to meet other interns, to work on different projects. For example, I worked on a case study with other interns. They have a lot of sort of tech talks where they invite fellows and other great professionals at the company to talk about really great projects that Lockheed is working on. And there were a lot of virtual tours and a lot of Q&A sessions. So you got to learn a lot more about the company, and it never felt like I was isolated from community culture or anything like that. My team was really great about helping me feel integrated. Every now and then we'd have like happy hours where outside of company hours, you would just call and talk as if we were like at a restaurant together. So it was great to be able to still feel like I was part of a really vibrant, diverse community, even if I was just like working from my desk at home. If anyone has any questions about anything that I just mentioned, you can definitely like put it in chat and I can answer that as well.
As you're applying to internships at this time, is ideally is we are hopeful, notice my words, that everybody will be back and working in a facility this summer, because the hands-on components that, especially for people that are working in manufacturing and some of our different areas, is it is hands-on work. And it again is the hope is that everybody will be back in the facility. So, and what I'm trying to say is, as you're looking at jobs and you're posting for them, if you do not have a desire to go to a We Go New York, but you saw a great job posted in a We Go New York, is don't assume that that's going to be an online opportunity for you this summer. You have to be willing to go to where the job is, just in case, because again, it is our desire to get everybody back in the facility this summer. Also, understanding is that for the majority of our internships and even our permanent placement positions, is we do offer a housing stipend. So that does help with some of that relocation and funding for you to find yourself a place to live. And we have a company that we work with that actually does a lot of that work. And the good thing is because we've been doing this for a few years, is that we've got some good, resources and information about finding housing too, if you're going to relocate.
That's great. Anita, are there some questions about any questions?
So there are a lot of questions coming in kind of across the board. So I'm trying to see, we have nearly 200 people. So having people raise hands is going to be a little challenging, but I do think there's some themes that we can kind of knock out really quickly. One, there is questions from our international students about whether or not there is sponsorship opportunities with Lockheed Martin.
Yes, and unfortunately, for the majority of the jobs that we do have available, you being a US citizen is a requirement for the majority of the jobs. When you look at the job postings, you will see if there is an opportunity or not. And the reason being is what you have to remember is we are a defense contractor, which basically means that we are doing work for the government. And as a part of that is a lot of the work that we do does require security clearance. In order to get security clearance, you do have to be a US citizen. And even if you are working in a position that doesn't require security clearance, if you are working in a building or working on a project that requires that, there are some additional requirements. So unfortunately is, the citizenship requirement is one of those components that is just a part of the business that we do.
Gotcha.
And then there are some really specific resume questions. Some of these I'm not going to ask because I think you can probably get a lot of information from our resume guide or some templates of good resumes. So I'll ask Patrick if he can drop that into the chat. But is there an ideal or minimum GPA requirement for the internships for Lockheed Martin?
So we have been looking at our GPA requirements over the past year. And even though we are saying we don't have a GPA requirement any longer, I'm going to tell you it is a data point. And a lot of our managers are still taking that under consideration. But if you are 2.5 and above, that's where you need to be at this point. Remembering is right now, and I see a couple of people going, yay, I'm good. It is a data point. And what I want you to understand is your responsibility, your job right now is you are a student, okay? So you need to be working on that and focusing on your grades, regardless if you're a great student or not. And this comes from somebody who, when I was in school, I wasn't that 4.0. I hung out with a lot of those people, but that was not, I'm a great worker, but I wasn't good at taking tests and things like that. But I had to figure out a way how to, stop spending so much time in the social environment and really do a little more focusing on my studies. Because again, as a student, that's your number one job right now. But no, you don't have to be a 4.0 student to come to work for us. Hopefully that helps.
I have a relief for a couple people, right? There is one question that I think is really helpful, and then we can probably get back to some of our standard questions because they do cover some of the ones that are in the chat here. But for those who are not as comfortable with virtual interviews, do you have any tips, or can you give us some insight into what the interview process is like now that it's all virtual?
Absolutely. So I actually like virtual better. And even as, being somebody who was on the other side, and this is where it comes from. It comes from me being on the other side. So right now is as you are sitting at your desk and you have the opportunity based on wherever your camera is you might have an opportunity to put together what I call some cheats, right? So you're going to prepare for your interview the same way that you would is if you were preparing for an interview in person. And I'll be happy at any time to come back and do a full session on interviewing skills, because this is one of my favorite things to really talk about, is that, taking the time to get yourself prepared, regardless of the forum that interview is going to take place in. But to know that, how you're going to answer the questions and how you're going to sell yourself as the best skilled individual to come to work for that company is all the same. But one of the things that I did when I was interviewing myself a few years ago, and I was doing, virtual interviews, is I created some 3x5 cards. And it wasn't that I was reading the 3x5 cards, but I was using them as helpful reminders as to this was something that I knew was a great example of a time that I was working with others on a team project and one of my team members didn't, meet their commitment. I just kind of wrote the information out, but then I had the 3x5 card sitting there to say, oh, don't forget to talk about that. Or here's a great example of a time that I had to meet a challenge. Here's that great example of the time that I had that failure, because that failure question is going to come up. But again, it's about getting prepared, and it's not necessarily about the forum and how that interview is going to take place. And again, like I said, I could spend a whole hour just talking about interview skills. So, hopefully you are using your resources through the Career Center, because I'm sure that they do a number, well, I'm not sure. I know this for a fact that they do offer opportunities for forums and mock interviews. So take advantage of those.
We do. Thank you, Janet, for the shout out on that, because students, I did put in the chat, if you want to make an appointment with your career counselor, we do mock interviews all the time. And also there is a great platform that you have access to called Big Interview, which is basically a virtual mock interview system. So you can get tailored questions by industry. You'll see someone like a recruiter actually pop up on your screen, ask you the question, and then you'll record yourself giving the answers, so you can watch your actual answers and also share that with anyone else who you want to get some feedback from. And it's really helpful just to see what your nonverbals look like when you're on camera. Okay, let's go on to the next question. Lisa, you have the next one, right?
Sure. So, excuse me. So Janet, what did the best resume you've seen have or do that made the candidate stand out?
So the first thing is it has to be easy to read. And you see these glasses here? Mm-hmm. Is keep in mind that your resume, the font should not be too small. But the reality is unless you are what I call a non-traditional student, your resume should be 1 page long, and that's it. And remember, it's that calling card. It's a menu. So the first and foremost is at the very top is make sure that your contact information is there. Your name doesn't have to be big and bold. I know who you are, okay? But again, I need to know how to get a hold of you. If you have multiple email addresses, make sure that you are putting on your resume the email address that you actually check. Because I can't tell you the number of people who will come back to me and I'll say, I've tried to get a hold of you, and they go, well, I don't use that email. Okay, well, excuse me, but it's on your resume. So my job doesn't come with a crystal ball or a magic wand, just so you know. Again, then and this is where you're going to get a lot of difference of opinion is right now at the entry level stage of the game, unless you are only interested in a very specific sector or a very specific job, you don't need to include an objective, because I know your objective is to get a job. If you are not graduating for a couple of years, I know that you're looking for an internship. If you are graduating this year, I know that you're looking for that early career position. So again, unless I am only interested in being a systems engineer, and that's the only job that you're interested in, you don't need the objective, because again, it helps you to pick up a little bit of space. The next thing is, and you notice I'm kind of going chronological here, is I want to know where you're going to school. I want to know when you're going to graduate. I want to know, what your GPA is. And again, flowing right through. Then the other thing that is very helpful for our recruiters is the fact that if you have some of those skills, those technical skills, putting those right underneath your educational component is great, because again, it makes it very easily for us to identify. Then we want to see your work experience. Then if you have, after the work experience, if you're doing any clubs and organizations, put that there. And if you have any room left, throw a hobby in there or something. But again, there's some standardized types of resumes that I, again, know the folks in your career services can help you with that. Keep it simple for the recruiters. Again, going back to Thane's comment, is we're going to spend about 7 seconds. And if I don't see what I'm looking for right off the bat, you're going to get put in the pile. And I know that there is a lot of fancy ideas out there about how to reorganize, but for a company, and again, I'm looking at Lockheed Martin. If you are applying to Lockheed Martin or one of our competitors, one of the large businesses out there, this is the process and the style that we're looking for. If you are more focused on a startup company, again, the fancy might be more what they're looking for. But again, I'm thinking about what Lockheed Martin is looking for.
That's great.
Great tips. And also a reminder for students, your resume and your LinkedIn profile, which we're going to go into next, these are part of your brand, right? So your branding and marketing, and you need to, know your audience. So when you're looking at what style or what type of, one page versus multiple pages, or like whether or not you can get away with smaller font, things like that, make sure you meet with one of your career counselors, because we can give you some strategic advice on if it's a startup versus, an internet company versus defense, what might be best for that industry. Also, there have been a couple questions about LinkedIn. So can you share with us what your thoughts are on LinkedIn? Do you source talent on LinkedIn? And then what are your top tips? What can students take advantage of on LinkedIn? And then what should they not do on LinkedIn?
So for when we are sourcing candidates, we are not using LinkedIn as a primary area. A lot of the sourcing that we're going to do is, just like everybody who's come out today, we've asked you to drop your information into our system, so that this week, if one of our sourcers is looking for different people, for different positions, they're going to go to our internal tools first. But I will tell you is, as it relates to LinkedIn, so right now is, if you are interested in Lockheed Martin, you want to make sure that you are following Lockheed Martin online, because we are posting different activities that we are involved with. You'll see me, sharing information for opportunities that are not necessarily just directed at college, but they may be other opportunities that different business areas are hosting, or there may be conferences, but it's a good way to keep in touch with what we are doing. Also is, I know that some of our business managers is sometimes a student will post information on the, something that maybe they have posted out. Is if you're making a comment, is you want to make sure that you are making comments that are meaningful and how are they going to be received? So is, you know, a lot of times I don't see it a lot on LinkedIn as much as I used to, but sometimes people will make some kind of snarky remark on something that somebody posted. Stay away from that. You know, it's one of those things as unless you've got something good to say, sometimes it's good to just scroll on by. But to know that if I've made, you know, if I'm sharing something out about an activity and I'm asking you to apply online, is you want to follow that process. But if somebody makes a comment, let's say, you know, Jose is interested in this opportunity, just wanted to make sure, you know, to let you know, hey, I'm very interested and I'm going to follow the process. Well, then, you know, if I'm online on LinkedIn, I may take a look at that and then I may go, oh, did Jose actually post or not? You know, because maybe I've had some interaction with that person. Again, I've seen other managers, hiring managers with Lockheed Martin that have seen other students post information out about a project that they're working at a certain university. And then a hiring manager, if that's something that they're very interested in, or they see that the student has a high technical skill that we are interested in, but we don't see a lot of, that brings you to light. And that hiring manager may reach out to me, or if I'm connected to that hiring manager, then I actually may see that comment and then I may follow up with you. But again, is for Lockheed Martin, that is not our predominant sourcing spot.
Great, thank you. So Janet, can you share with us how Lockheed Martin supports diversity and inclusion in the hiring and development of employees of various backgrounds and experiences?
So I'm going to throw this over to Thane because she shared some information with me a little bit about her experience with some internal diversity and inclusion that we do within Lockheed Martin. So I'm going to let her answer it and then I'll follow through.
Thank you. As you can see, I'm a brown woman of color. And when you look at Lockheed, like personally, when I first looked at Lockheed, I thought, oh, it's a lot of old white men. When I started working for the company, if you look at a lot of the higher ups and a lot of the faces when it comes to management, it definitely is a lot of white people. So I asked my manager genuinely, like, how does Lockheed value diversity? This was one of the questions I asked, like, the first week of my job. And my manager explained that Lockheed has a lot of initiatives for diversity, and they have a lot of communities specifically to help empower people who are looking for a community that they feel they would find a lot of value in. So Lockheed has these things called BRGs, which are business resource groups. You can consider them as little organizations which have a very set motivation to empower the people that are in that network. So they have groups for many different minorities. I personally joined PAN, which is the Professional Asian American Network, and WIN, which is the Women's Impact Network. They have other initiatives for LGBTQIA plus communities and other ethnic cultural groups as well. In these communities, you get a weekly newsletter, which helps connect you to more people. And they do a lot of events to help you feel more connected to the community that you want to be a part of. So it's really cool. You get to have another way to network while you're still within the community. I met a lot of people this way and really felt like I was part of, like, I really felt like Lockheed generally was doing a lot to empower people who we're concerned about diversity. I think it is a diverse place. I was the only girl working on my team every day, but I never ever felt like I was the odd one out. So really championing diversity and helping everyone feel included.
Thank you. So even as an intern, as you can see, she had the opportunity to get involved with some of the aspects of diversity and inclusion. And again, I've only been with Lockheed Martin for a couple of years, but some of the things that I am seeing them do as a company it tells me that this is one of those items that is top on the list of things that needs to be taken care of. So yes, there are a lot of white gentlemen who have been with the company for a long period of time, but the focus is how do we make it more inclusive, and the training that we're doing around that and the recruiting that we're doing also in the diverse communities speaks very highly about how important this is to our organization overall.
Excellent. Thank you so much for kind of sharing both the personal experiences and kind of the changes that are coming about in a organization that's traditionally thought of as a certain way. So we're evolving, and that's wonderful. We're down to our last planned question, and there are some other questions coming in the chat, but Thane's doing a great job of actually answering them live. So that's great. We did touch on the interview process a bit, but can you go into a little bit more about the specifics of how the interview process works at Lockheed? Like once it gets past a recruiter, is there a hiring committee? Does it go to a manager? And also we get a lot of questions about salary negotiation. If you have any insights and tips on how students can best navigate that process, that would be awesome.
So I'm going to throw this over to Thane and ask her to share with you her personal experience, and then I'll come back and add some additional information there.
So I was hired on site at a recruitment event that I went to back in October when school was still in session. I had my resume and I went to the event. The first question I was asked is, are you willing to relocate? And I said, yes. And they went over my resume, asked me about specifics. They wanted me to elaborate on things that I already had on my resume. And I think this is where students can really shine and show that show the bigger picture. So even though you may not have all the experience that a manager is looking for, you can always show your personality. So managers are looking for individuals who are bright, willing to learn, and willing to work hard when the job asks for it. They're looking for people who have the growth mindset and are willing to persevere no matter what they're being faced with. They're looking for good collaboration skills. They want to see that you do have pride in what you know, even if you don't know everything. Because I was not expected to know anything when I started my job. They just want to make sure that I have a mind and an outlook that makes me willing to learn. I was asked to elaborate on my experiences, and then my manager tried to see if I did have any specific experience that he was looking for. So as a systems engineer, specifically working with model-based engineering, I would have to know how to work with specific modeling software. I worked with different softwares before, but I didn't have any experience for what he was specifically asking for. But because I have shown that I am willing to work hard and I can work with other people and I'm very driven, my manager thought I was a good fit for the position. And my hiring manager actually ended up being the manager I was supposed to work for. So he knew I was a good fit for him and the rest of his team. As for salary negotiation, I never really considered it. I was really happy to get an offer from Lockheed, and I felt like what they were offering was pretty suitable, and I was just ready for whatever they would give me.
Sorry, trying to get myself off mute here. So the one thing is that I will share with you is there is not a standardized interview process that I can tell you that every single person who interviews is going to go through. And part of that is because we are located all throughout the United States. Now we're working on a more systematic type of approach so that everybody does go more through a standardized type of an interview. But again, is what you need to be prepared for is to know what you are, the things that you've accomplished, to know what the job is about. Now, sometimes when you do an interview, and especially if you're interviewing at an event, you may not know exactly the job that you are interviewing for. But again, it's important for you to understand and be able to articulate, why do you want to come to work for Lockheed Martin? What is it about, you know, the decision that you made in the education that you are pursuing? Is how does that fit into the organization? So, you know, when you start to get questions about, well, why are you interested in Lockheed Martin? Well, I need a job and you were going to be here today. Well, we want people that truly have a passion for the type of work that we're doing. So again, part of it is, you know, as they start to ask questions about you and why you made the decision to go to San Jose State. Why did you make the decision that this was the curriculum that you were going to study? You know, when that thing that was important to the individual that Thane was talking to is, you know, he wanted to make sure that she was going to be willing to leave San Jose because the job that he had available was in Colorado. So again, very simple there, but then again is even, you know, currently, and we have an event going on next week with the OSTEM group. And so I'm reaching out, I'm looking at resumes, and I'm reaching back to students to say, I don't see this on your resume, but do you have some experience either through your education or through, you know, other activities that you've been involved with? Because I can see that you don't have the activity through work, but again, thinking about how do you share that you have that skill, even if it's not a skill that you have 100%, is we're not asking you for an internship. We're not asking for you to be an expert, but do you have knowledge in electronics? Because the job that you're going to do for the summer, that's what the focus is on. So again, talking about and being able to articulate, you know, what are the different experiences you've had and how does it relate to the job that we're looking to hire for? So I hope that that helps.
Great. Okay, so Janet, we're going to display your opportunities here, your opportunities page. If you wanted to take a moment to talk a little bit about it.
So I assume that you have the career page pulled up, because again, I am not seeing what you're displaying. Oh, there it goes. So again, these are a variety of career opportunities that are available based on what your background is. You know, is all you have to do is click on that link that is right there, the lockheedmartinjobs.com/college students. And again, that's going to highlight opportunities that are more focused on your level of experience. So going right there. The other part of that career site that I encourage you to take a look at is there's a lot more information on that site than just careers. And if you scroll down, you know, we talked about the diversity and inclusion. There's also an opportunity for you to join a group within Lockheed Martin that's called Engineering Connect. And this is an opportunity for you to get a little more connected with individuals who are technical experts. So sharing, you know, going right to that website and taking a look at what are some of those other things that are going on within the organization. What is some other information that might be out there? So our career site is not just about applying for a job. There is a lot of other information on there, and I really highly encourage you to take a look at that information through that website.
That's great. And then Patrick, I think you're going to go ahead and get that link out to the students, right, in the chat?
Yes, I've already submitted it to the chat, and I can send it out again.
Okay. And then we just want to remind students to sign in with Lockheed Martin. This is a great way to for them to be able to see the students that have come to today's event and also to connect with you. Let's see here.
So there are some general questions that are coming in about internship experience. What is it like balancing school and internships? How can you stand out as an intern candidate if you don't have a lot of experience? I don't know, Janet or Thane, if you wanted to address some of those questions. I think sometimes students think they might have to have very specific experience on their resume to qualify for an internship. Do class projects, and you mentioned having some participation in clubs on the resume help with that?
Yes, definitely classroom and different projects that a lot of your experience is going to come from the class. That's fine in those group projects, and even being involved with different teams, so that, you know, if you're, and I have to apologize because I don't know what the organization is called on your campus, but for example, there is a race car building group. And so you might be doing, you know, the electronics piece of building that race car, and that's where you're getting that skill and that hands-on work experience from. So even though it's not quote unquote work, that's how you're gaining your experience. Thane, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about, you know, doing an internship, because the majority of our internships are only offered during the summertime. And so you're going to be dedicated basically for that 40 hours a week to doing the internship. But Thane is having the opportunity now to extend her time where she's actually working while she's going to school, which is not the usual process. So Thane, go ahead and share a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I had a full-time virtual internship over the summer. So I worked 40 hours a week. I think it is possible if you wanted to do extracurriculars or even take a course over the summer. It really depends on your workload and how much you can take. Currently, I'm doing part-time work for both my manager and for the Space Intern Ambassador program. So I had a conversation with my manager and explained to him, like, what's my home life like how intensive are my courses, what kind of work can I do for him, and how many hours can I spend. And my manager was really accommodating about that. So it really just depends on how you are able to compartmentalize your time and how you're able to communicate with your manager. I think my manager is really, really understanding, and he's been great about helping me with my giving me the space I need to complete my work and give me projects that I do have the energy to work on.
That's great.
More questions coming in, or?
No, I think we're good, and we have about 4 minutes left. So it looks like we have the Find Your Mission slide, the final slide on how to best find opportunities, and some final tips there. Sorry, Lisa, I can barely see the print on the bottom of that slide. What is that?
It's a link. So the link that we shared earlier for basically signing up with Lockheed Martin to register with them, so that way they can keep you updated on you know, opportunities.
Okay.
So definitely is, and I know that it's been dropped in the chat box a couple of times, but making sure that you register, that you participated in today's event. And this again becomes very important, that number one, as we're doing future events, then I have an opportunity to be able to easily reach out to you. Then the other component is if our sourcers are searching for individuals who might be within a certain major, there's definitely then an opportunity for them to be able to review your resume if you add that in to the registration component, or again, for us to be able to reach out to you to let you know about different activities that we've got going on.
And if you guys want to connect with Janet, her email address is right here. So you can go ahead and connect with her on LinkedIn as well, because she's there.
Additionally, I did drop my business email on my LinkedIn if you wanted to connect with me there. I tried my best to respond to everyone that I could, but if you still have more questions, feel free to reach out and I'll do my best to help you.
And we still
And
have time.
And here's the thing I'm going to remind you though, is okay, so there was like 180 some students that I saw coming and going. If you all send me a message today, I'm going to struggle to get back with all of you. What I say is remember that there's one of me and hundreds of students that I work with. So again, is if you're sending me a message, is you don't need to make it really long. If you're looking for something very specific, just cut to the chase to share with me. I do connect through LinkedIn also, but because I don't have my LinkedIn, it doesn't go directly into my Lockheed Martin email address. They're kind of separate. Sometimes it does take me a little bit longer to respond to folks on LinkedIn. But again, I do try and get back with everybody who sends me a message, but sometimes is, if you're asking me to check on a job posting for you, I may check on it, but I may not have time to follow through and get back to you to let you know exactly what the activity is.
Okay. And I think we have a few minutes left to answer any questions that the students have.
We actually we have 1 minute left.
Oh, okay.
But I do want to thank Janet and Thane for just taking the time to share some insights. And it's always good to get kind of both perspectives from the recruiter and also a student perspective. If you wouldn't mind giving us feedback, this is our bit.ly link for feedback participation. We look at these evaluations really closely to determine if you like this type of programming and you want us to continue doing employer insights, let us know so that we can advocate for doing more and inviting more employers on. And there's an incentive for you. If you fill out the survey, you are entered into a raffle to win a $20 Amazon gift card, which is always great. This is being recorded. So if you did sign up in the Google form, and I might ask Patrick to just drop that in one last time so that we can send you the recording. I know some people came in late. So if you want to get the tips from the beginning. And thanks to all of you for joining us today. It was really great to see some student faces, and definitely take advantage of Janet and Thane's invitation to connect with them, but be thoughtful when you do it. Make sure you think about some things, or maybe rewatch this recording and say, oh my gosh, when you talked about XYZ, that was really interesting to me, and here's why. So that they have some context as to why they want to follow up with you as well.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And thank you all for coming out this afternoon. Have an awesome weekend.